Welcome back to the Blackbaud Ninja channel. We are going to go over how to look at various types of lists in RENXT. So in addition to the query functionality, which is down here in analysis query, if you're looking for a little bit quicker and easier way to get at data that may have less criteria and less complex criteria, a list is a really quick and easy way to get that information, and it's just a good place to start to see if you can get it there. So there are a few different types of lists in RENXT. There are constituent lists, which are found under constituents. There are gift lists, which are found under gifts. And then under the portfolio area, there are action lists and opportunity lists. And the reason why there are different lists is because it pulls different types of data. So a constituent list will pull data at the constituent level. A gift list will pull information at the gift level. An action list will pull information at the action level. And an opportunity list will pull a list of opportunities. So depending on the type of information that you need, there are different types of lists. So to start with constituent lists, we're going to go to constituents, constituent lists, and we have a few options here. We can pull in a static query that we may have created from the query function, which is under analysis query. So if you do have something more complex that you've built, you can always build on top of that and add some additional filters or share it with others through the list feature, even if you started with a static query. You can open a save list, which will allow you to search for other lists that others have created. You could also search for ones that only you've created. But we're going to do build new lists since we're going to do one from scratch. If we want to show every record and then filter down, so basically starting with everyone and filter down to where, let's say we only wanted to see people that had a gift last calendar year, we can do it that way and it will filter down. The other alternative is to basically build up. So we could say, do it this way. Date last calendar year. So we're getting the same list, 10,779 people, just two different ways to do it. If you need to clear the filter, you can always go back in and do clear. One thing to note with constituent lists is it is going to automatically suppress anyone who is inactive or deceased. So if you do want to include those people, you need to make sure you come into the filters area over here and click deceased and inactive, and that will pull in the filters at the top, but you still have to go in and select it. So yes, I want to include deceased, and yes, I want to include inactive. And then, as mentioned, you can pull in any type of information that's available here. You can also go to all filters and kind of see everything. So as mentioned, if I want to do gifts last calendar year, and I want to make sure I'm including anyone that may be a part of that as a self-credit. And then let's say with my constituent code, I want board members. So any board member that has given in the last calendar year, that is the list that I want. So I have 5 people. So then I can save. I have a few options here. If I want to save it, I can save it as a new list, which will save it board member giving last calendar year. And then I can say, I can choose my security, basically. Do I want anyone else to access it at all? Do I want others to view it? Do I want others to manage it? If you allow them to manage, then they can actually go in and update the various settings on your filters. So just be aware of that when you're saving your list. You can also save it as a static query. So if you pulled it in here or just created it in here and you wanted to then go and save it as a static query, you can do that as well. And you can also do a query list. So if you wanted to create it as a query list inside a database, you can then add other criteria in that list. You can do that as well. In many ways, this functions very similarly to kind of like the query list feature, because you can also add to this list. So if I want to pull in another list that I have, I can do that as well, where it's basically functioning like a query list where I'm really combining And so it's going to be an and when we're talking about how the criteria is structured. Whenever we're adding multiple criteria, everything in lists is and. I know that there have been a lot of submissions in the idea bank and various things to do and or functionality. Hopefully that will be coming, but right now the more that you add, it's going to say every single person in the list has to fit this criteria. You can also just add one person. So if I wanted to add just John, I can do that. If once I have my list, I need to exclude, I can do the same thing. I can exclude an entire list. So if I needed to take this list out, I can do that. And then it does, if I want to see who has been added manually, I can click on that and it will show me that I had added John manually. If I click on records excluded, it will also show me that list. So it does kind of keep a history, which is helpful. And then I could also, if I wanted to exclude, if I wanted to take John back out, I can do that as well. And then you can see it's updated here. We can also delete it. We can also use these lists in workflows. So if you need to set up a workflow inside of RENXT, you would start with a constituent list, and then you can pull this into a workflow as well. So I'm going to go ahead and save. Anytime you see that little asterisk, that means something has been changed and the list has not saved. Once you save it, that goes away to let you know it's saved your selections. You can also share via email, so you can copy this link and send it via email, and if the person has the right permissions, then they will be able to access the list. You can also export the list into Excel or CSV as well. So very similar procedure with all of the other types of lists. Again, you can start with a static gift query, you can open a previously created gift list, or you can build your own gift list. Same thing, you can either show all records and then filter down, or you can kind of build up and do your selections that way as well. It will automatically give you some filters here, but as mentioned, you can always go in and say, I want to filter on batch number, on fundraiser, on subtype, and maybe what the acknowledgement status is. So then it will give you those filters that you can go in. So if I wanted to see only ACHs, actually there wouldn't be pledge ACH. Well, actually there could be a pledge ACHs. How about a pledge IRA? Let's see if we have any of these in here. No. So we could do a one-time gift of subtype IRAs, and it would give us that. Again, the same options are available in terms of you can export, you can share the list, and you can add your columns. This one doesn't have the features like with a constituent list where you could pull in a list of gifts or exclude a list of gifts, but you do have access to this same type of information. If I had a really long list, and let's say I was looking to see if Roy Kent was in the list, I can also search on his name, and it will give me those gifts that are associated. So again, scrolling down to action lists, very similar. Who the action was assigned to. So if I wanted to see all actions last calendar year that have an action type of phone call. So it's pretty easy just to get to some quick insights. Again, you can export, share it. This one has an option to sort by date. So if you really have a long list, that's really helpful. And then opportunity lists, you can open a save list and build a new list. You'll see that there isn't a query option here because in Razor's Edge, there is not a query type of opportunity. So that's why you can't start from a query. So you would essentially have to build a new list. And so if we wanted to pull in all of our identification opportunities, it'll give us this list here. And again, save, share, export, very, very similar options. One thing I do want to mention about constituent lists before this video concludes is that this is not necessarily the best format if you're doing a mailing. If I do pull this out into an export, it's not going to give me specific addressees and salutations. So as you can see, whenever you pull out the export, it does not give you an addressee and salutation or like first name, last name. It's going to give you this name column. So this is something that a lot of people will kind of get frustrated with because they want to be able to take this list and do a mailing from it. And that's not necessarily the intent. I think Blackbaud's intent in the design of this is that the mail functionality has so many different options to suppress and include and to change what type of addressee you want to display. And this is really basically too simple for that purpose. It would be nice if it could just pull in first name, last name, and just primary addressee and salutation, because that would make this really easy to do a mailing from. But Blackbaud has kind of said that's not really the intent of these lists. So just keep that in mind. If you're really building a list to use in a mailing, I would suggest going through export or through the mail feature so that you can really customize how you want that data to come out. If you are using NXT email, you're going to want to have that list as a constituent list. So if you are building an email, to send this out through NXT, you would also need an email list. So this is where an email, you tell it which list you want to use. And so these in here are the constituent lists that we have saved. So I also wanted to point that out as well.